All right. So if throughout the call you guys have questions or anything pops up, whether it's related to what I'm talking about or not, feel free to throw it in the chat and I'll kind of scroll through and just make sure I touch base on any questions you guys have. So feel free to throw them in there and I'll jump over to that. Main thing for tonight is I just want to make sure I kind of go over the general structure of the season and what each age group briefly looks like for anyone who's on it, and not expectations, but just what for expectations for you, for the kids and what you're looking to get into going into the fall. So the very first one is the schedule will be out on Monday. So for U5s through U7s, basically by Monday, you'll have the schedule for if you play at 8, 9:15, 10:30, 11:45. That'll be out for the whole 8-week season. We have Labor Day weekend off, and we have Columbus Day or Indigenous People Day, whichever one it is now. We have that weekend off. Outside of that, if for some reason there's a rain out, we have a weekend tagged on to the end of the season that we can push games into if we need to. So I hope we don't get rained out, but then again, I am glad we got a little bit of rain today. We definitely need it. So that's kind of the timeline for that. So next week we'll be up and rolling with schedules for the U8s through U10s. Those schedules will also be published on Monday, and that will be for Friday night games. So Friday night games will have that schedule. It'll run 8 weeks. Same thing with the rain out weekend. We've got that first weekend in November is our rain out weekend. And then if we need more than that, there will be some Saturday and Sunday games, but not a lot. I'll just use Saturday and Sundays where we run out of weekends to play. Otherwise, our tournament ends the season the weekend of November 13th. And then the U11s and above, we schedule through CASA. So CASA will publish a skeleton roster either the last week of August or the first week of September. And from there, we'll go in and I'll help you guys schedule and do all of that. And I'll send a separate email to the 8 teams that are U11 and above, because it's a little bit different, just to make sure you're in control of kind of when your team's playing, so you can make sure you can make the game. So that's what scheduling looks like. Once we get that out there, everything's pretty much smooth sailing. I think that one other big question that I'm getting right now is uniforms. And basically I will hand out uniforms to you at practice. So I have a list of everyone who has purchased a uniform. So I will give you a bag with a list of names and the sizes based on what they ordered. And you'll just hand those out. If there's anyone on your team who is not on that list that wants a uniform, that is no problem. I can give them a uniform at the end of practice, and I'll just write down their name and send it to the office, and they'll charge the account. So that'll be easy as well. So for any of you from before, it was a little bit more difficult to get uniforms, but I pre-ordered them. So number wise, we're good. And those will all be handed out next week. And that's for U8s and above. So the ones that have practice, I'll just bring them to your practice, or the ones where I have my practice, I'll make sure I email you to let you know exactly when I'll be by your field, either at the beginning of your session or the end of your session. U4s through U7s, I will send out an email. There will basically be, you'll be able to pick them up on Tuesday and Thursday at the fields in the evenings, or there will be times during the day that you can go by the LTYA office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to pick them up. And then we'll also have them at the field on Saturday for anyone who is not able to make it there. But I'll get all that information out to you guys. I'm just waiting for a couple of pieces of my schedule to come together for next weekend before I set exactly the times and pick up information for next week. So those are the two big ones: schedule, uniform. I think the one other big thing for anyone on here is prereqs. So Aubrey is one of our Lake Travis Elite coaches, and she's taken a full-time admin job with us for the soccer side, which has been amazing. And she is helping me just get you guys into Got Sport, make sure you get all of those fun concussion save sport and all of that taken care of. So she'll be emailing you guys about that. So if you need anything, you can reach out to me and I can put you in touch with her or whatever, but she's helping me kind of make sure we get all that squared away going into the first weekend of play on the 26th. Outside of that, and I apologize for the Got Sport, for some of you guys who have coached baseball or volleyball or basketball. Soccer is its own monster a little bit. We've got to go through what's called Got Sport, meaning it's a soccer system. So we have our own background check system and all of that. So thank you guys for doing double duty and putting those into Got Sport and, for baseball, basketball, football, and all those other things. I know a lot of you volunteer for. Outside of the prereqs and the schedule, I got a question for someone that hopped on late. Schedules will be posted on Monday. So, and that'll be basically pretty much the full season schedule for U8s to U10s. Sometimes I'll only post the first 6 weeks. That way it leaves the last couple weeks available to make sure the matchups are good and teams have some success going into the end of the season. And then, let's see, I'm just going to roll over the general premise for each of the age groups real quick. So U5 to U6 coaches, anyone who's on here for that, you guys, it is all about, it's about 20-25 minutes of some skill work. And then a 35-minute, just 3v3 or 4v4 format. Really the numbers just depend on how many kids you guys have. If you have, if each team has 7 players, go ahead and play 4v4. If each team has, 4 kids there and it's hot, play 3v3, let them have a sub. We don't want to play much bigger than 4v4 just because it gets pretty packed and pretty full. So if we need to sub pretty frequently, we can, but just, 3v3 or 4v4 is the idea for those little ones. And then on top of that, we do what's called the new ball method, which is exactly what it sounds like. Basically, instead of worrying about doing restarts and throw-ins or goal kicks or kickoffs, we can basically just take a ball and throw it into play so they keep running and playing. And the number one goal for, the little ones is how often can they touch the ball and how much can they move and just have fun and get after it. So we don't want a lot of stagnation. We don't want a lot of still downtime. We just want them running and playing and going. For the U4s to use, the U4s, that's all pro coach run. So none of you guys will have to man that on your own if you happen to have a kid that's in U4, but U5s through U7s, we will have pro coaches out of the field. We're still going to put a coach on every team just because it helps the kids be able to, have a face to come to and someone to identify with and, really just kind of have that team environment. But if you are ever stuck, we do have pro coaches at the field that can kind of help facilitate a session or jump in or help wherever we need for those U5s to U7s. The U8s to U10s, your practices, really, same thing. I'll be out there. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, but it should be, the kids touching a ball as much as possible and just becoming comfortable with the ball at their feet and then having fun competing and doing lots of things that incorporate movement. For all of the levels of play, basically we have 3 ways that you can gain information. One, I have a YouTube channel that I post a bunch of stuff on. I'm going to add a little content over the next week to it that has to do with actual, basically I've already created sessions and I email out a session each week, but there are some concepts and phrases that I tend to use in those that I've kind of picked up on. So I'm going to try and create just some technical videos of exactly what I'm talking about and what I would coach to in those sessions. Feel free to use those as you would like or not. I just want to provide you guys with a little bit of extra ammo going into practice for those that may not be as familiar with the, technical skill side of soccer. But again, if you have your own session plans, if you have your own things you want to do, you do not have to follow mine. I just want people to have as much information as possible. So one, I have a YouTube channel. You can check that out with lots of content. That'll include the new videos I post. 2, I send out a session each week, and I have one for the U8s and above, one for the U7s, one for the U6s, and one for the U5s. So you'll get those each week. And then there's also a Mojo app, which is pretty cool. The guys that own that are the CEO, I think, worked for Disney. So he created that app and we're having an onboarding call either Monday or Tuesday. I'm just waiting to get the final details on that. So I'll send it out the login information for that, but they're also going to do a live call. So if you want to hop on that to get, ask them questions about their app and all of that, they'll have that. And basically what it is you can go in, you put the age of your players, the length of your session and everything else, and it'll spit out a practice plan for you. And you can watch the videos, you can, do the time, and it'll basically plan it all out for you. The one thing I'd say advice wise, as far as practice for those is just know it's probably not going to look like you plan. I coach, I've coached all levels from, 6 to 16, and
You mean
they're
on the backside so they see it?
where
Ah.
on my session, basically, I'll show up and I'll have one thing in mind and it looks nothing like that. So don't be afraid to pivot and just kind of laugh at yourself and the kids and have fun with it. And if it's not working, throw a ball out there and let them play and they'll be happy. So don't stress if you've got, this perfect thing planned where they're going to learn X, Y, and Z, and it's just not happening on a Monday or a Tuesday. Just let them enjoy it. There are days that I do the same thing with, 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds. So pick your battles and enjoy it really. Any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat about practices and how that's set up. Most people outside the Thursday night crew should know where their space is and what that's set up like. So I think we're mostly good there. I've tried to make it so that you either have a Wednesday, which is apparently the very popular night, or a little bit extra field space on a Monday. Outside of that, games, the U7s are the only age group I kind of didn't touch on a second ago. And for the U7s, what I've done is basically created a line field out on Saturday mornings, put goals out there, and we've introduced a little bit of structured play. So with that, it does not need to be like every time the ball goes out of bounds, we have to be critical of stuff. We just want them to start to be introduced to throw-ins and goal kicks and corner kicks so that when they do step into that U8 game a year later, they're not, they have no idea what a throw-in is or no idea that the ball goes out of bounds. So it just is kind of a stepping stone from the U5, U6 complete free play model to a U8 structured. We've got a ref on a Friday and, a little bit more organization. So especially in the fall season, a lot of those U7s are going to be much newer to it than in the spring. In the spring, a lot of them will have done it before. And so it's a little bit easier to implement those, but in the fall, just, it's okay if the U7 game looks a little bit more of a free flow game. And then we start to introduce the throw-ins and goal kicks and corner kicks. For U7s and above, the only, I'm going to do another call on Sunday. And basically my Sunday call is just going to be for anyone who kind of wants to learn a little bit more about soccer and geek out a little bit about, tactics and technical skills and, pick my brain and I pick your brain and we all just kind of chit chat a little bit about, how we are actually developmentally building these kids to become, athletes and soccer players. So the only little soapbox I'll give for any of you for this, for U7 and above, is if you have a goalkeeper, some of you might have even heard me say it by now already, is a goalkeeper for me is just a superhero. They're a field player that can use their hands. So don't stick them on the line and, have them sit there and never leave. They might give up a goal, but that's okay. My biggest thing is encouraging them to get up and to play and to be a part of the game and the action and, to keep themselves involved. So that kind of model starts with the goalkeeper. And then for me, of course it's your team. So, coach them as you'd like, but definitely the one thing that is big in soccer across the board is movement. So soccer is a running game. It's a participating game. So encourage your players to get up the field, to get back down the field, and to move as a group, whether it's on offense or defense. So it makes it a lot more fun when you're constantly running and getting up the field and back down the field rather than kind of just hanging out and waiting for your turn to play. We don't like lines. We like to get out there and get after it. So encourage the kids to just be active and to want the ball and to get the ball. Those are the main things in general tactically that are my kind of big tips for the season. The only other thing I can say as far as gameplay is, U5s to U7s, there's not a lot of structure there outside of just teaching the kids the rules and making sure you guys keep it fun and competitive for them. For the U8s and above, or I guess U8s, U9s, and U10s, for league play, I have all of them play 25-minute halves. So it's a 25-minute first half, 25-minute second half with a max of about a 5-minute halftime. And we run those games pretty close together at sometimes, just depending on the number of teams I have. So the 7v7 fields will run pretty tight this season because we've got a ton of U9 teams, which is awesome. So there are going to be a lot of games happening up on those 7v7 fields. The 7v7 fields are the ones up on 2A, 2B, and 3. So they'll be the higher fields. And then the 5v5 fields, so U8s will be down by the baseball fields. So for any of you new to that, that may have changed for some of you, but all of the U8 games are down on field 1. U9s and U10s are up on the higher fields, 2A through 3. For the rules for the games, this is for U7 and above. We have rules about throw-ins. The U8s and above will have referees, and they're going to do their best to make it a fun, competitive game and then just keep it fair and to keep it flowing. But when it comes to offside and throw-ins, I think those are usually the biggest things that we get complaints from parents and coaches, and are kind of, everybody gets, up in a roar about it. As a coach, and I've since running the league, I've tried to be better about it myself, even in my games, is, at the end of the day, it's my responsibility for my players to understand offside, to learn the rules, to learn how the game works. So, as much as you can, if there's a player constantly offside on your team, and if you don't understand what that means, feel free to ask me, or we can all talk about it. Or, if you notice that there's a large complaint about some rule and you're like, I don't know what that is, please feel free to reach out. But during a game, like if I've got a player standing offside, I'll be the first one to be like, hey, you're offside, come and play, get back on side, instead of, kind of playing that game of like, oh, maybe we'll get away with it. No, the ref didn't see it. I only include offside in the U7 to U9 game and U10 game, because you can't play soccer without kids being aware that that is a part of the game. But it is by far the most confusing and complicated rule. Adults don't get it. College players are offside all the time. So it is not an easy rule for players or coaches or officials. So the more we can kind of help parents and players identify that and to play the game within that rule, the easier those games flow. And I think the less complaints and the more fun it is for everyone who's out there. Same thing with throw-ins. Ideally, I tell the refs that, if someone's throwing a ball like a quarterback on a throw-in and it's going 15, 20 yards and they're gaining a huge advantage, you've got to call that. But, if a kid throws the ball 2 yards and he hops 3 times in a row doing it, we're not going to call it every time, because, in some games we'll be there all day and never playing. So just keep in mind that the ref is going to try and help the kids learn. But, also on our side as coaches in the league, if we can help those kids make adjustments there rather than relying on the refs to just get it right every time, it's going to flow better. It's going to be a lot more fun, and we'll have a much smoother game experience for players, parents, and coaches on that end. So if you've got any questions on any of that, throw them in the chat. But those are the main 2 ones over the last couple of seasons. Sorry about my cat. It's very upset that I haven't let it back outside. So sorry about that in the background. So throw-ins, offside, and then the one other rule is, people ask me about slide tackling. I have not made a hard and fast rule about slide tackling. I think across all the games that I've watched, I've seen maybe 3 kids do it, and I don't even know if it was on purpose in most cases. I tell the refs, if it looks at all like it could hurt a kid, call it as a foul, because safety is number 1. But it's not innately illegal to slide tackle in our league. Again, it is part of the game, but especially on the girls' side, I don't see it very often. So if it becomes an issue, or you guys come across a situation where there's something that's a problem, let me know, and I will definitely make sure I let the officials know about it, and to kind of get a hold of that. But I haven't made a hard stand on that's illegal, that's not illegal, because again, it just doesn't come up that often. And if there's a kid who's doing it beautifully and perfectly and no one's getting hurt, that is part of the game as well. So kind of on the offside thing, please let me know if there's something that becomes an issue. And I tell the refs to always err on the side of caution when it comes to fouls and something happening. If it looks like maybe it was dangerous and bad, go ahead and call a foul. The majority of people are going to be great with erring on the side of caution and safety. So that's how I tell them to watch for it and look for it. That's the main things for rules. I'm trying to think. The only other real things I have for you guys is going into the season. Please let me know if you guys have issues with, parents or sidelines, or, I don't want you guys to feel like you've got to patrol your sidelines or your parents. That's not your job. Your only role here is to help the kids have a good time and to leave feeling like soccer is awesome and fun and they want to do it again. So if anything comes up, feel free to reach out anytime and just let me know if I can help make that experience better for you or the kids, or whatever I can do to kind of help in that. Yes, no heading. Sorry, no heading until U12. So if you have U11 or below, they cannot head yet. And then I think last thing for me on that is when once the schedules are out, if for some reason, if you can let me know far enough in advance, like, hey, we've got, 9 of 10 kids go to Lake Point Elementary and we've got a mother-daughter or mother-son dance on this day, or a father-daughter dance on this day, and our entire team's going to be out. I can't promise I can reschedule it, but I will definitely do my best to try and make sure you have enough players, or that we can try and move it to a Saturday. I know those things pop up. So if you see a date or something on your roster where there's going to be an issue, the sooner you can let me know about that, the better I can handle it, because I can make sure I get it to our ref coordinator so that we can have a ref for it, and I can get with the other coach and just, try and make sure we get the games in, because obviously playing games is the number one thing that we're after here. So please let me know if something comes up and you're going to be missing your entire team for some reason, because I know there are kickball games and all sorts of cool things that the schools do. And I definitely want to try and make that possible for the parents and the kids where I can. I think outside of that, I don't have anything. If I'm skipping over anything, please let me know. Sunday's call is going to be more designed for tactics and technical stuff. Some of you've done this before or have a soccer background yourself, so you don't need me to help you out from there, but please let me know if you do have questions, or once we wrap up, if you have any questions, feel free to stay on and I can answer any individual questions about stuff that you guys have. Just real quick, U8's 5v5. I think we went over that, but just in case anyone on the call, U8 is 5v5. That's 4 field players and a goalkeeper. U9s and U10s are 7v7s. That's a goalkeeper and 6 field players. So that's kind of the basic setup. And again, please feel free to reach out, and I appreciate you guys volunteering and giving your time. And the last reminder I'll kind of leave you guys with is, just remember, we're all on different teams, and it's fun. It makes it competitive when we're playing against each other, and we've got, the Apache Shores matchups and all the fun, neighborhood rivalries going on, but we are still, one big community. So even as coaches, I encourage you guys to, say hi to each other before the game, shake hands, just remember in the long run, you guys are on the same side of this, and your kids are probably more than likely going to play on the same team a year from now or 2 years from now somewhere. So when we get out there, we're all just trying to make this fun for them and keep it enjoyable. So if you have any issues, let me know. Like I said, stay on the call if you need anything. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys taking a little bit of time on a Thursday night, and hope you guys got some rain for your yards and your plants. And sorry to anyone that didn't get a soccer session, but I think we officially broke, it said the 5th longest streak ever of no rain. So at least we didn't get to number 1 in that respect. So
if anybody, and Anna, for folks who missed the practice today, we're not going to do makeups, right? We'll just
we won't do makeups necessarily. If we get to the point where there's a bunch of them, we'll keep it to the, one session night. If you guys end up where, some seasons it's like Monday always gets rained out and never Thursday, we'll definitely try and, filter in for this first couple of weeks. We're just going to try and make sure everybody knows when and where their practice time is, so that we get everything streamlined. But if you guys end up being the team that hasn't practiced in 3 weeks because it happens to rain every week only on your day, we'll definitely make sure the kids get out there and play.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep. Anything else for the general group before? Water breaks. We won't, the halves are 25-minute halves. Most teams have good number of subs. If it's super hot, I always tell the refs, if the kids need water, we'll give them a quick water break. They can stop their watch for 30 seconds for them to go get some water and shade. Again, safety is definitely a priority. Most teams, I think this season, have a good number of kids, so they shouldn't really be, there won't be too many kids on the field for more than maybe, 10 to 12 minutes at a time max, with the exception of a few. So for sure, if it's too hot and we're having issues, we'll definitely address that. Luckily, I think the 5 o'clock games are the only ones really in jeopardy of having issues. Usually once we get past 6 o'clock, things are much better. So let's see. Yeah, I don't think there's any other messages in the chat. So I'll go ahead and stop recording here. But again, feel free to stay on if you've got questions. I'm just going to turn a light on in the background so I don't look like I'm in a cave.